Namaskar students. Hope you are hale and hearty, taking care of your health and your studies. Democracy, a word which is not unknown to you. You had been reading about it since years now. A form of government which is of the people, for the people and by the people. India is widely appreciated for being a democratic country even after such a diverse culture. The greatness of our country lies in the democratic soul of it. It is not easy to preserve the democratic values. There are many institutions which work tirelessly to keep the democratic soul alive. Yes, that's what we are going to do today from grade 9 book, chapter number 4. The name of the book is Democratic Politics. The name of the chapter is Working of Institutions. So, let's get going. Countries around the world practice democracy through different types of institutions. However, most democracies in the world today use the parliamentary system as opposed to a presidential system like that used in the United States. A few examples amongst the many parliamentary democracy are Canada, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, Latvia, the Netherlands, and New Zealand, and on the top of it is India. Defining characteristics of parliamentary system are the supremacy of legislative branch within the three functions of government: executive, legislative, and judicial, and blurring or merging of the executive and legislative functions. The legislative function is conducted through a unicameral or a bicameral parliament, composed of members accountable to the people they represent. A prime minister and the ministers of several executive departments of the government primarily carry out the executive function. The political party or coalition of parties that make up a majority of parliament's membership select the prime minister and department ministers. The prime minister usually is the leader of the majority party. We shall be discussing about it in detail in the session to come. A hereditary king or queen in a democratic constitutional monarchy such as Great Britain, Japan, Norway or Spain, or an elected president or chancellor in democratic constitutional republics such as in Germany, Italy or Latvia. The judicial functions typically is independent of legislative and executive components of the system. In a parliamentary system, laws are made by majority vote of legislature and signed by the head of the state, who does not have an effective veto power. In most parliamentary democracies, the head of the state can return a bill to the legislative body to signify disagreement with it. But the parliament can override this veto with a simple majority vote. In most parliamentary systems, there is a special constitutional court that can declare a law unconstitutional if it violates provisions of the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. In a few parliamentary systems such as Great Britain, New Zealand and the Netherlands, there is no provision for constitutional or judicial review, and the people collectively possess the only check on the otherwise supreme legislature, which is to vote members of the majority party or parties out of office at the next election. A parliamentary democracy is directly and immediately responsive to the popular influence through the electoral process. Members of the parliament may hold their positions during an established period between regularly scheduled elections. However, they can be turned out of the office at any point between the periodic parliamentary elections. If the government formed by the majority party loses the support of the majority of the legislative body, If the governing body, the Prime Minister and his cabinet of executive ministers suffers a no confidence motion, vote against it in the parliament, then it is dissolved and an election may be called immediately to establish a new parliamentary membership. So, what is a government order? A government order. On August 13, 1990, the Government of India issued an order which was called an office memorandum. The order says that other than SC and ST, the 27% job reservation benefit will be given to a new third category called socially and educationally backward classes. Only persons who belong to backward classes were eligible for this quota. The decision makers. So, who decided to issue the memorandum? Such a major decision would have involved other major functionaries in India, which involves the following points. The President is the head of the state and is the highest formal authority in India. The Prime Minister is the head of the government and takes most of the decisions in the cabinet meetings. Parliament consists of President and two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Prime Minister must have the support of a majority of Lok Sabha members to pass a memorandum. When the office memorandum was passed in India, it was a hot debate issue. Some felt that this was unfair as it would deny equality of opportunity to those who did not belong to backward communities, while others felt that this would give a fair opportunity to those communities who so far had not adequately been represented in government employment. This dispute was finally resolved by the Supreme Court of India by hearing all the cases. This case was known as the Indira Sahni and others versus Union of India case. The Supreme Court judges in 1992 declared that the order of the Government of India was valid. Thus, the dispute came to an end and this policy has been followed ever since. So, why do we need the political institutions? The government is responsible for ensuring security to the citizens and providing facilities for education and health to all. It collects taxes and spends the money thus raised on administration, defense, and development programs. It formulates and implements several welfare schemes. To attend to all these tasks, several arrangements are made in all modern democracies. Such arrangements are called political institutions. So, democracy works well when these institutions perform functions assigned to them. So, institutions involve meeting, committees, and routines. This often leads to delays and complications. Some of the delays and complications introduced by institutions are very useful as they provide an opportunity for a wider set of people to be consulted. Institutions make it difficult to have a good decision taken very quickly, but they also make it equally difficult to rush through a bad decision. So let's try to understand what a parliament is and why do we need it. A parliament is an elected system of government. By choosing their representatives, the people form the government and participate in decision-making process, thereby upholding democracy. The Parliament of India is the absolute legislative authority. It is bicameral legislature composed of President of India and the two houses, the Rajya Sabha, which is known as Council of States, and the Lok Sabha, which is known as House of People. The President, in his role as head of the legislature, has full powers to summon and prorogue either house of the Parliament or to dissolve Lok Sabha. The President can exercise these powers only upon the advice of Prime Minister and his Union Council of Ministers. At the state level, this is called the legislature or legislative assembly. The name may vary in different countries, but such an assembly exists in every democracy. So, what constitutes the Parliament of India? The Indian Parliament consists of two houses called the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, with the President of India acting as their head. In the map given on your screens, you can see various seats which are allocated to different houses of the Parliament. Like for Lok Sabha, various states who have different number of representatives from them. For Rajya Sabha, we have total of 245 members, and for Lok Sabha, 543 members are elected through elections. So, first and foremost, we will take up the President of India. The President of India, the head of the state, is a component of the Parliament. Under Article 60 and Article 111, the President's responsibility is to ensure that the laws passed by the Parliament are in accordance with the constitutional mandate and that the stipulated procedure is followed before according or approving the bill. The President of India is elected by the elected members of Parliament of India and the state legislatures and serves for the term of 5 years. Now we move on to the popular house, which is also known as the Lok Sabha. Lok Sabha, or as we know it, the House of People or the lower house, has around 543 members. 543 members are directly elected by the citizens of India on the basis of universal adult franchise, where every citizen of India who has attained the age of 18 can vote in the elections, representing parliamentary constituencies across the country. Between 1952 and 2020, 2 additional members of Anglo-Indian community were also nominated by the President of India on the advice of Government of India, which was abolished in January 2020 by the 104th Constitutional Amendment Act in 2019. Every citizen of India who is over 18 years of age, irrespective of gender, caste, religion or race, is otherwise not disqualified, is eligible to vote for the Lok Sabha elections. The Constitution provides that the maximum strength of the Lok Sabha House be 552 members. It has a term of 5 years. To be eligible for the membership in Lok Sabha, a person must be citizen of India and must be 25 years of age or older, mentally sound, should not be bankrupt and should not be criminally convicted. The total elective membership is distributed among the state in such a way that the ratio between the number of seats allotted to each state and the population of the state is so far as practicable the same for all states. From Lok Sabha, we move on to the Council of States called Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha, or the upper house, is a permanent body not subject to dissolution. 1/3 of members retire every second year and they are replaced by newly elected members. Each member is elected for a term of 6 years. Its members are indirectly elected by the members of legislative bodies of the states. The Rajya Sabha can have a maximum of 250 members. It currently has sanctioned strength of 245 members, of which 233 are elected from states and union territories and 12 are nominated by the President of India. The number of members from a state depends on its population. The minimum age for a person to become a member of Rajya Sabha is 30 years. So, what are the powers and functions and how it can be classified into different heads? So, the legislative powers, all the subjects in our constitution are divided among state, union and concurrent list. In concurrent list, parliamentary law is overriding than state legislative law. Constitution also have power to make law with respect to state legislature in following circumstances. 1. when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution to that effect. 2. When national emergency is under operation. 3. When two or more states request Parliament to do so. 4. When necessary to give effect to international agreements, treaties and conventions. And last, when President's rule is in operation. From here, we move on to executive powers. According to Parliament form of government, executive is responsible to the Parliament for its acts and policies. Hence, Parliament exercises control by various measures like committees, question hour, zero hour, ministries, and all of them are collectively responsible towards the Parliament. The financial powers of Parliament includes enactment of budget, scrutinizing the performance of the government with respect of financial spending through financial committees, and that comes under the head of post-budgetary control. The constituent powers are to amend the constitution to pass any law which is required, and the judicial powers includes impeachment of the president for violation of constitution, removal of judges of Supreme Court and High Court, removal of vice president, and then punish members for breach of privileges like sitting in the house when the member knows he is not an eligible member, serving as member before taking oath, etc. Under the electoral powers, it has its participation in the election of president and vice president. The members of Lok Sabha elects Speaker and Deputy Speaker from among its members. Similarly, members of Rajya Sabha elects Deputy Chairman. There are certain other powers which are vested with the Parliament of India, and these powers are to discuss various issues of national and international importance, to impose emergency, increase or decrease area, change names, alter the boundary of the states, create or abolish state legislature. Any power can be added from time to time. Under Article 245 of the Constitution, it is declared that Parliament may make laws for the whole or any part of the territory of India, and a state legislature can make laws for the whole or any part of the state. 7th schedule of the Constitution distributes the legislative powers between the center and the state by putting subjects into union list, state list and concurrent list. The center can make law on any of the subject in the union list or the concurrent list. The Parliament can override the law of a state on a subject listed in concurrent list. In addition to these powers, the residuary powers are also vested with the Parliament. The Constitution also empowers the Parliament to make law on a state subject in the following circumstances. When Rajya Sabha passes a resolution supported by 2/3 of members present and voting. When a proclamation of emergency is in operation. When two or more states make a joint request to the Parliament. When it is necessary for Parliament to implement any international treaty or agreement or convention. When President's rule is in operate in the state, as we had discussed earlier as well. With this, we come to the end of part 1 of this chapter. This session will be continued in the next video, but let's analyze what we have learned today. On your screens, you have certain statements. You have to complete them or answer them, picking up the correct option in the 4 options given along with it. The President of India is elected by direct elections by citizens who are 18 years or above, indirect elections by the Electoral College, Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, or none of these. This is option number B. The President of India is elected by the indirect election by the Electoral College. So, moving on, who is the real executive of the Indian Union? The Prime Minister, the President, the Union Cabinet, the President and the Prime Minister. The answer is the real executive of the Indian Union is the Prime Minister. Which of the following statement is true regarding President of India? President of India is the head of the government, he is the head of the state, head of the parliament, or none of these. President of India is the head of the state. So, what is the strength of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? 485 in Lok Sabha and 265 in Rajya Sabha, 620 in Lok Sabha and 340 in Rajya Sabha, 460 in Lok Sabha and 240 in Rajya Sabha. Option D, 545 in Lok Sabha and 250 in Rajya Sabha. The correct answer is option D, 545 in Lok Sabha and 250 in Rajya Sabha. So, which one of the following institutions exercise greater power over the union budget? The Reserve Bank of India, the Rajya Sabha, the Lok Sabha, or the Supreme Court of India? The correct answer is option C, the Lok Sabha. The cabinet as a team assisted by Chief Minister and Governor, Ministers of State, a team of civil servants of Cabinet Secretariat, or President and Speaker? It is option C, a team of civil servants of Cabinet Secretariat. So, what is meant by Office Memorandum? Is it the order issued by the Government of India, memoirs of the leader of the past, important defense documents, or none of the above? A memorandum is an order issued by Government of India. The question is, when was the second backward class commission appointed? Was it appointed in 1989, 1979, 1999 or 2001? The correct option is option B, 1979. Hope today's session was fruitful for you. We will continue from here in our next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy and keep studying. Namaskar.